Hi, and welcome to a brief overview of Office 365 OneNote Class Notebook. I am Cynthia Henderson and will be demonstrating how to download the Class Notebook add-in, setting up your Class Notebook, and how to best use Class Notebook with your students. Let's start with what Office 365 OneNote Class Notebook is. OneNote Class Notebook is a collaboration tool for teachers and students. It is a free add-on for OneNote in Windows and OneNote 2016 in Mac. Class Notebook is an easy way for homework, quizzes, projects, and handouts to be distributed. Students can receive teacher feedback anytime, anywhere through this online collaboration tool. Now let's get started with our demonstration of OneNote Class Notebook. First, we will need to access Office 365. I am going to start with Office 365 Online. This will be how students and teachers can access their documents, presentations, and notebooks on any device. My school district has a link to Office 365 that I and my students use that gives me access to Office 365 tools. You can access Office 365 by logging into www.onedrive.live.com. By logging into my OneDrive account, I have access to all my Microsoft tools and apps in one place and can use any of them in an online format. We're going to start by clicking on the little waffle icon in the top left-hand corner. You will notice that I already have the Class Notebook app. This is for my online use. To use Class Notebook with my desktop program, I will need to download the Class Notebook app add-on. So we'll go ahead and open up the Class Notebook. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you will notice that it says download the Class Notebook tile add-in. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. It will begin to download for us very quickly. Let me explain to you why we want to have the add-in. So we'll go ahead and open it up while it finishes. We'll agree and install. The OneNote Class Notebook has a few more options that are not available in the online version. I usually use the online notebook because it is live, meaning that any changes or additions that I make to the notebook are made instantly to other participants that I have shared the document with. Since our time is limited, I'm going to go forward with the online version. And we're going to go ahead and launch the OneNote. And what that does is it actually opens it up down for our desktop. And we're not going to use it right now, but we're going to come back to this before the end of our little short video. So let's get started with actually creating a class notebook for our students. So we're going to start by clicking on the Create a Class Notebook. Now name your notebook. I am going to use Reading 1, Period 1 because I plan to use this with a first period reading class. We now click Next. You will now notice that you will have 3 spaces in your notebook. There's the collaboration space. This is where students and teachers can work together. Teachers can edit the content and students can edit the content. The content library, though, is where published course materials are available for students. Teachers can edit the content, but students can only view the content, which is very important. And then the third space is the student notebooks. This is a private space for each student. The teacher can edit the content, and students can edit his or her own content and can't view any other's notebooks. So let's go ahead and click Next. Here's where we can give another teacher permission to use this class notebook. You may want to give, if you are a resource teacher or if you have a resource teacher or co-teacher, or you want your academic coach to be able to assist you in some of the planning, you can actually give them rights. I'm going to actually share with Amber Hurley. So I just type in Hurley space Amber. You will notice that I can enter just the last name and the names will populate. My Office 365 is synced with my Outlook. This makes adding addresses very easy. So I just make sure her name is chosen. I can add as many teachers or take away teachers. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And then here is where we're going to add our students. Depending on your class roster, how many students you have, it may take a few minutes to get all your students. So I would recommend having a list of your students so you can very quickly add them. So I'm going to start with my first student, Miss Battle. When I hit space, it brings her name up and populates. All of my students have an Office 365 account, so it makes it very simple for me to be able to add them in. And then I'm going to add in just one more student right now. And there's Cheyenne. Later on, I could always go back and add additional teachers and add additional students. I can also, if a student should happen to move away, I can always take them away. Now we can decide what tabs we want to be located in the students' notebooks. All of them right now have handouts, class notebooks, homework, and quizzes. I like to think of class notebook as basically go back old school where you had this 3-ring spiral bound notebooks and you had where you had the different sections. So you could have a notebook that had section 1, section 2, where you would put all your work. Well, that is a lot like Office 365 class notebook. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and keep the handouts, class notes, homework, and quizzes, but I'm also going to go ahead and add another tab called videos. And this is where we're going to locate all of our videos that we might be using in first period reading. Okay, so let's go ahead and click next. And this is where we get to actually preview what our notebooks are going to look like. OneNote offers us a visual preview of what the teacher's notebook looks like and then what the student's notebook looks like. If we click on the students, you'll see how it has the collaboration space, the content library, and then it has the student's name and then the 5 tabs that we have for them. At any time, we could always go in as the administrator and redo. We could take off a tab or we can add a new tab as we are working. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click create because everything looks exactly like we want it. And it'll take a few seconds. While that is creating, let me give you a real quick teacher tip. As the teacher, you have rights to all your students' Office 365 accounts. After I create something for my students, I usually log in as one of my students to make sure what students need to access is correct. Now that we have our reading notebook created, we're going to actually close out of this browser and go to the desktop version. The online version does not have all the tools that the teacher and the students need. It is a very quick way of using it online so that it's real time, but especially for the teacher when they are creating the notebook and adding content to the notebook, you're going to want to use the desktop app. I usually pin anything that I'm going to use a lot of down in the bottom in my taskbar. And so I now have open my OneNote. And you will notice right here in the middle it says Midland Reading Club. This is another notebook that I've created for my reading club. I'm just going to click on the drop down. You'll want to make sure and check because you'll notice, like for myself, these are just a few of my notebooks. If I click on more, you're going to see that I really enjoy using OneNote. It makes my life so much simpler and easier, and especially since it's all synced into the cloud, I can access it at school, at home. If I happen to go to another school for a meeting, I don't have to take my computer like everybody else does. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Reading 1, Period 1, and it goes, and notice that it opens up. We have our collaboration space and our content library space. And then remember, I've only added 2 students. So as I add more students, they'll go across here. Now, on the first on the first page, you see that it says welcome. This is something that in all new notebooks that it just puts on here so that in case you are new to the program, it gives you just a basics. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add another tab, And I'm going to name this Class Section 1. And what that does is, so this class, I can put in anything that, and I'm going to go ahead and you can right click on that and then delete it so that all of that other stuff is gone. So now I only see my pure notebook that I want to use with my students for reading 1, period 1. Up here in the top, we're going to go ahead and click on Class Notebook, because right now you'll see that there's multiple tabs up here. A few things that I really want to go over. You can create a new class notebook here, add, remove students very easily. When you click on that, you can add more of your students. Note, remember, I only added 2, so I can go here and I can add more students to that, the reading 1. My other notebooks, I can add more to them. Also, let's go ahead and go back to the desktop app. I can add and remove teachers, and then I can manage my notebooks. So those tabs are here just like on the online areas. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Insert. And what right here, as you see, a lot of these are the same as before. Anytime you're using pictures or handouts, PDFs, you can actually insert them in so that the students have access to it. I have actually taken pictures of our work or screenshots of the class for that day and imported them so that when the student gets home to work on some homework, they can always refer back to it. Also, you can actually click on the file printout and actually put an entire document in for the student, depending on how large it is. Let me open up my Book It Parent Letter. I'm going to insert, and it will actually put the entire document in our class notebook. And so you notice that it went ahead and it gave us a link here. The parent or the student could actually still click on it and download it and print it. You could also just do a file attachment, and that will make it not so, I guess, heavy. It really just depends on what you want it to be. Now you could also add links to videos. So many of the ways you can draw, you can write, like take quick notes. Often I'll just jot down my math problem here, and then that way I can see it. Now, this is where I really wanted us to look at. In the Class Notebook tab, if this page is something I want for both of my students to be able to access, I can actually take right here under Distribute Page, and I can click on the drop down, and I can actually tell it where I want it to be at. So if this is a handout that I want my students to be able to access, I can actually click on Handouts, and then it will, don't show me this again, and we'll just say okay. And so now when I click on Alana's name, and if I look under her class, let's see, her handouts, notice over here that it says Section 1. So here is that document that we just shared. And this way she can actually see it at home or at school, anywhere that she needs to be able to see it. Now, if I click this little icon here, it takes me back to the teacher view. And anytime that I am working on something or I want my students to be working on it, I can actually put it in the collaboration space. And this space is, now this is the part of the tool that I would really use online because of the fact that you want it to be live. And using and creating something, you want the students to be able to instantly get your feedback. And so that's one of the tools I use often online only. Now, if we go back over, so that was distributed just that one page that I wanted all the students to have. But let's say that I want to add a new section to the entire notebook. Remember in our sections we have the content library, the collaboration space, and then each one of the students have their 5 tabs. So I can actually go here and go new section. I want to distribute the new section to this group. Now if I have another class, I can always do it to an additional class. But this time let's just do new section. And let's put in that this is going to be our website. No, let's change it to references, because we need to make sure we reference and give credit where it's due. And then we'll just click on create. And so now we'll have this reference tab under our student name. So if I click on Alana, and notice there's her reference. At any time, if she wants to change something, she could always click here and rename it. I would probably start off on my first day with an overview. There are tons of videos in the help section on Office 365, and I think it would really help a lot by going and letting the students actually see how you want to use this. I hope you have enjoyed this little short video on Office 365 OneNote class notebook. I would just encourage you to get out there and look at the other resources. There's tons of help for you, and it's a great resource that I think your students would really enjoy and you would really see the benefit. Thanks for watching and have a great afternoon.